The stars above Earth burned with the light of 1,000 warships. Captain Day stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the purple glow of enemy vessels fill the viewscreen. 3 years of war had brought humanity to this moment. 3 years of losing colonies, retreating across space, and watching friends die. Now only Earth remained. "Sir, we're detecting another wave," Lieutenant Una said from her station. Her voice stayed calm, but Day saw her hands shake slightly. 200 ships entering orbit. Day nodded. The Valtheris Empire had come with everything they had. Their purple-skinned warriors were stronger, faster, and could read minds. Their ships moved like dancers through space, while human vessels lumbered like ancient trucks. The only reason Earth still existed was stubbornness and luck. "Get me Admiral Tay," Day ordered. The Admiral's weathered face appeared on screen. Tay had lost his wife and 2 sons in the war. Now he commanded Earth's final defense with cold determination. "Captain, we need you planet-side. Dr. Hana says the drive is almost ready." The resonance drive, humanity's secret weapon. A device that could punch holes through space itself, creating doorways to anywhere in the galaxy. At least, that was the theory. Nobody had actually tested it yet. "On my way," Day replied. The horizon's edge dropped toward Earth's surface, dodging fire from Valtheris patrol ships. Una's piloting skills kept them alive as energy beams carved through the air around them. They landed at the research complex in what used to be Seoul, though the city was mostly rubble now. Dr. Hana met them at the entrance. Her lab coat was stained with coffee and engine grease. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She had not slept in days. "Tell me you have good news," Day said. Hana led them through corridors filled with scientists and soldiers. Everyone moved with purpose, racing against time. "The drive works. We tested it on a small scale, but Day, there's a problem." There was always a problem. "What kind?" "The energy required is massive. We might get one shot before the reactor melts down. And if we calculate wrong, the wormhole could collapse and take the solar system with it." They entered the main laboratory. The resonance drive sat in the center like a small sun, crackling with blue energy. It was beautiful and terrifying. Around it, dozens of scientists checked readings and ran calculations. "One shot," Day repeated. "To go where?" "Anywhere we want. We could evacuate Earth's population to a safe galaxy, start over where the Valtheris will never find us." It sounded like surrender. Day hated it. But before he could respond, alarms screamed through the complex. "Valtheris ships breaking through the defense line," someone shouted. "They're heading straight for us." Admiral Tay's voice boomed over every speaker. "All forces, protect the research complex. We cannot let them take the drive." Day grabbed Hana's arm. "How long until it's ready?" 12 hours minimum. We need to calibrate the dimensional coordinates or we'll tear ourselves apart." "You have 6. Make it work." He ran back to his ship with Una close behind. The horizon's edge launched into a sky filled with fire. Purple Valtheris fighters danced between human defenders like sharks among minnows. Day's ship was different, though. It was built for speed and packed with experimental weapons that Earth scientists had created in desperation. "Una, plot an intercept course with their command ship." "Sir, that's suicide. We'll never break through their shields." "We don't need to break through. We need to steal data from them." Una understood immediately. She sent the ship diving toward the massive Valtheris dreadnought. Its surface gleamed purple and black, covered in weapons that could crack planets. But Day knew something about the Valtheris ships. They were designed to fight other ships, not to defend against boarding. "Get us close," he ordered. "Right against their hull." The horizon's edge flew so close that Day could see individual hull plates. Valtheris weapons tried to track them but could not angle down far enough. Una brought them alongside an access port. "This is insane," she muttered, but she was smiling. Day suited up and jumped across the gap between ships. The void of space was silent except for his breathing. He burned through the access port with a plasma cutter and dropped inside the enemy vessel. Valtheris corridors were tall and elegant, designed for beings who valued beauty even in war. Day moved quickly through them, following the mental map he had memorized. His suit's stealth field kept him invisible to their sensors. He found a data terminal and plugged in a device Hana had designed. It worked like a virus, copying everything it could find. 30 seconds felt like 30 years. Then footsteps echoed down the corridor. A Valtheris warrior rounded the corner. She was tall and graceful, with purple skin that seemed to glow from within. Her eyes widened when she saw him. Before she could raise her weapon, Day fired. The stun blast dropped her. The data device beeped. Download complete. Day ran back the way he came, jumped across space, and tumbled into his ship. Go, go, go! The horizon's edge shot away from the dreadnought as it finally realized they had been boarded. Energy beams chased them back toward Earth. Back in the lab, Day handed the data to Hana. She plugged it in, and her eyes went wide. Day, look at this! The Valtheris aren't mapping Earth for conquest. They're running search patterns. Searching for what? Hana pulled up star charts from the stolen data. They showed Valtheris movements over the past 5 years. The Empire had not been expanding. It had been fleeing, pulling all its forces inward, consolidating around the galaxy's core. They're running from something, Hana whispered. Before Day could process this, every screen in the complex changed. A face appeared on them. She was beautiful and terrible, with purple skin and eyes that glowed with power. Queen Velathris herself, ruler of the Valtheris Empire. Humans of Earth, her voice echoed. I am Queen Velathris. You possess technology called the Resonance Drive. This technology is the only hope for survival, not just for your species, but for all species in this galaxy. Day felt Hana tense beside him. Surrender the drive to me immediately, the Queen continued. Do this and I will spare your world. You may live as subjects of the Empire. Refuse, and I will take it from your corpses. You have 12 hours to decide. The transmission ended. The room fell silent. Admiral Tay appeared on screen. Captain Day, Dr. Hana, report to command immediately. We need to make a decision that will determine whether humanity survives or dies. Day looked at the resonance drive, then at the stolen data showing the Valtheris Empire in retreat. Something bigger was happening here. Something that made a war between humans and Valtheris seem small. What are they running from? He asked quietly. Nobody had an answer, but in 12 hours, they would have to give the Queen one anyway. The command center buzzed with arguments. Generals and politicians shouted over each other while Admiral Tay tried to maintain order. Some wanted to surrender the drive. Others wanted to activate it immediately and escape. A few wanted to use it as a weapon against the Valtheris fleet. Captain Day stood at the back of the room with Dr. Hana, watching the chaos. 6 hours had passed since Queen Velathris made her demand. 6 hours left until the deadline. We cannot trust them, General Quan said, slamming his fist on the table. The Valtheris have killed billions of our people. They want the drive so they can enslave the entire galaxy. But what if the Queen is telling the truth? Sora, the diplomatic liaison, asked. She had survived first contact with the Valtheris years ago and still bore the scars. What if something worse is coming? Then we run, someone shouted. We use the drive to take humanity somewhere safe. Admiral Tay raised his hand for silence. Dr. Hana, can you explain what you found in the data Captain Day recovered? Hana stepped forward and displayed star charts on the main screen. The Valtheris Empire controlled 70% of this galaxy 5 years ago. But look at this pattern. They have been abandoning outer colonies and pulling everything toward the galactic core. This is not expansion. This is retreat. Retreat from what? General Quan demanded. I do not know, but whatever it is, it scared them enough to flee. A new voice cut through the room. Perhaps I can answer that question. Every weapon in the room pointed toward the speaker system. Queen Velathris's face appeared on every screen again. How did you penetrate our security? Admiral Tay growled. Your security is adequate for human technology, the Queen replied calmly. But my telepathic abilities reach far. I have been listening to your debate. You deserve the truth before you decide. Give us one reason to believe anything you say, Day said. The Queen's glowing eyes found him through the camera. Because I am proposing something no Valtheris ruler has ever done. I am offering to meet you face to face. No weapons, no tricks, just truth. The room erupted in shouting again. Admiral Tay silenced them. Where and when? There is a neutral station in the asteroid belt, Station Meridian. I will come alone with 2 guards. You may bring the same. We will talk. If you do not believe me after, you may leave freely. It was obviously a trap. Every military instinct told Day to refuse, but the stolen data bothered him. The Valtheris were running from something. If humanity used the drive to escape to another galaxy, they might be jumping straight into whatever had scared the Empire. I will go, Day said. Captain, that is foolish, Admiral Tay started. If it is a trap, you lose 1 ship and 3 people. If it is real, we might learn something that saves humanity. Day looked at Yuna. Are you with me? Yuna smiled. Always, sir. They chose Jiwan as the 3rd person. He was a civilian engineer who had escaped from a Valtheris labor camp. If anyone could spot their tricks, it was him. The Horizon's Edge flew to Station Meridian under tense silence. Every sensor watched for ambush. The station was old and battered, a relic from before the war. Inside, artificial gravity hummed and the air smelled stale. Day, Yuna, and Jiwan walked through empty corridors toward the meeting room. Their hands stayed near their weapons. Queen Velathris waited in a simple room with 2 guards. She was tall and regal, her purple skin seeming to glow with inner light. Her eyes were ancient and sad. The guards were armed, but kept their weapons lowered. Captain Day, she greeted him. Thank you for coming. Tell us why we should not just shoot you now, Jiwan said bitterly. His scars from the labor camp were visible on his arms. Because then you would never know the truth, Velathris replied, and you would die ignorant when the swarm arrives. The swarm? Day asked. The Queen gestured to a holographic projector. It showed a map of the galaxy. From the outer rim, a dark mass moved inward like a spreading disease. Everywhere it touched, stars went dark. We call it the Void Swarm. It appeared at the galaxy's edge 20 years ago. At first, we thought it was a natural phenomenon. Then it began consuming worlds, not destroying them, consuming them, every living thing, every piece of matter absorbed into the swarm. The hologram showed planets being engulfed by a dark cloud. Cities vanished. Forests disappeared. Even the oceans were drained away. My homeworld was the first to fall, the Queen continued, and her voice cracked slightly. I was young then, just crowned. I watched from orbit as the swarm took everything, my people, my family, everything I loved. And you have been running ever since, Hana said softly. She had joined the meeting via video link from Earth. Yes, the Valtheris Empire's expansion was not conquest, it was consolidation. We gathered resources and populations, trying to build a defense. We enslaved other species not from cruelty, but from desperation. We needed every mind, every hand, every idea. Jiwan's face was hard. That does not excuse what you did to us. No, Velathris agreed. It does not. I have done terrible things in the name of survival. I have sacrificed millions hoping to save billions. And it has not been enough. The swarm keeps coming. In 6 months, it will reach Earth. Day felt ice in his stomach. 6 months? The resonance drive is the only technology we have encountered that might stop it, or at least slow it down. My scientists believe it could create a barrier the swarm cannot cross, or possibly a weapon that could disrupt its structure. Why should we believe this is not just another trick to steal our technology? Yuna asked. One of the Queen's guards, a male Valtheris named Velkosh, spoke up. Because we are dying. Our empire is fracturing. Worlds are rebelling because they see no hope. Half my fleet wants to surrender. The other half wants to flee beyond this galaxy. He looked at his queen. She is here because she believes in one last chance. Velathris stood and removed her royal robes. Beneath them, she wore simple clothing. I will prove my sincerity. I offer myself as a hostage. Take me to Earth. Let your scientists study everything I know about the swarm. If you still do not believe me, execute me. The room fell silent. This was insane. The ruler of the Valtheris Empire offering to become a prisoner. Day studied her face. He had learned to read people during the war. He saw no deception in her eyes, only desperation and exhaustion. Dr. Hana, he said, can you verify any of this? The data we stole? On screen, Hana worked frantically. I am cross-referencing the movement patterns. If we assume they are running from something at the galaxy's edge, she typed rapidly. Oh no. What is it? There are gaps in the stellar observations, sectors where we should be seeing starlight but are not. I thought it was sensor error. But if something is consuming stars... Her face went pale. Day, if this is real, it will reach our sector in approximately 5 to 7 months. General Kwan's voice came over the comm. This could still be an elaborate trick. Then we will know for certain when the swarm arrives and kills us all, Velathris said dryly. Captain Day, I am offering an alliance. Combine human ingenuity with Valtheris resources. Work together to survive. Or we can continue killing each other while the swarm devours everything. Day looked at Yuna and Jiwan. Yuna nodded slightly. Jiwan's face was conflicted, but he did not object. If you are lying, if this is a trap, Day said slowly, I will personally kill you. I would expect nothing less, the Queen replied. Then come with us. We will bring you to Earth. But you are our prisoner until we verify your story. Agreed. They returned to the horizon's edge with the Queen and her 2 guards as prisoners. The flight back was tense. Day kept waiting for a Valtheris fleet to ambush them, but the stars remained quiet. On Earth, Admiral Tay met them with a full military escort. Velathris was placed in a secured facility. Her guards were separated from her. Every precaution was taken. But when Dr. Hana began studying the Queen's knowledge of the swarm, her face grew more worried with each passing hour. It is all real, she told Day that night. The swarm, the consumption of worlds, everything. She pulled up more data. But there is something else, something terrible. What? The Valtheris have been using slave populations as test subjects, trying to find biological weapons against the swarm. Millions have died in experiments. Day felt anger boil inside him. He marched to Velathris's cell. She sat calmly, as if she had been expecting him. You said you wanted to work together, he said coldly, but you have been using people as guinea pigs. Yes, she replied without shame. I have. Because the swarm kills everything it touches. I needed to test every possible weapon, every theory. Many died. But if I had not tried, everyone would die. That does not make it right. No, it makes it necessary. Her eyes met his. You will learn soon, Captain Day. When survival is at stake, you will do things you never imagined. You will sacrifice. You will compromise, and you will hate yourself for it. But you will do it anyway. Day wanted to argue, But deep down, he wondered if she was right. In 6 months, the swarm would arrive, and humanity would have to decide what they were willing to become in order to survive. Earth's government was broken. Half wanted to accept Queen Velathris's alliance, half wanted to execute her and fight alone. The arguments in the command center grew more heated each day. General Quan led the opposition. "We cannot trust them. The Valtheris have killed billions of our people. Now they want us to work together? This is madness." "The alternative is extinction," Sora argued back. "If the swarm is real, we need every resource available." "If the swarm is real," Admiral Tay emphasized, "then we need to verify it ourselves before making any alliance." Captain Day had a different idea. He presented it to Dr. Hana in her laboratory. "What if we do not fight the swarm at all?" Hana looked up from her calculations, exhausted. "What do you mean?" "Use the resonance drive to evacuate. Take humanity to another galaxy entirely. Leave the swarm and the Valtheris behind." "Run away?" Hana seemed surprised. "That does not sound like you." "It sounds like survival. We could start over. Build a new civilization far from here." Hana was quiet for a moment, then she shook her head. "The drive is not stable enough for that. We could open a wormhole to another galaxy, but we do not know what is on the other side. We might jump into something worse, or the wormhole might collapse halfway through, tearing apart every ship." "So we are trapped here?" "Maybe, or maybe—" Hana pulled up new data on her screen. Minho found something interesting. Minho was a young scientist on Hana's team, rebellious and brilliant. He had been studying the swarm data from the Queen. He joined them now, looking excited. "The swarm is not just destroying things," Minho explained. "It is harvesting them. Specifically, it is harvesting psychic energy." Day frowned. "Psychic energy? Like the Valtheris telepathy?" "Exactly. The swarm targets species with strong psychic abilities first. The Valtheris are incredibly telepathic. That is why the swarm hunts them so effectively." "But humans—" Minho grinned. "We barely have any psychic ability at all. We are almost invisible to it." The implications hit Day like a hammer. "Which means humans can operate in swarm-controlled space." "While the Valtheris cannot," Hana finished, "this gives us a strategic advantage." Admiral Tay approved a reconnaissance mission immediately. Day and Yuna would take the Horizon's Edge into space, where the swarm had already consumed several systems. They would gather data and see if Minho's theory was correct. The journey took 3 days. As they approached the dead zone, the stars began to disappear. Space itself looked wrong. Instead of the normal black dotted with light, they saw an oily darkness that seemed to writhe. "Sensors are going crazy," Yuna reported. "I am reading energy signatures, but they do not match anything in our database." Day activated the stealth systems. The Horizon's Edge drifted into the swarm territory like a ghost. Around them, the darkness pulsed with faint light. It was beautiful and horrifying. "There," Day pointed, "a Valtheris colony world, or what is left of it." The planet was gray and lifeless. The oceans were gone. The atmosphere was thin, but the structures were still intact. Cities stood empty like graves. "Taking us down?" Yuna said quietly. They landed in what had been the capital city. The buildings were elegant purple architecture, now covered in a dark residue. Day suited up and stepped outside. The silence was absolute. No wind, no life, nothing. He walked through empty streets where millions had lived. The swarm had taken everything organic but left the structures behind. It was like walking through a museum of death. "Day, I am picking up something," Yuna said over the comm. "A data archive, still functioning." Day found the building and accessed the archive. The Valtheris had recorded everything as the swarm came. He watched the final messages, people saying goodbye to loved ones, scientists trying to find a way to fight, children crying for parents who would never come home. Then the swarm arrived. The recordings showed a black cloud descending from the sky. Everyone touched by it simply stopped moving. Their bodies dissolved into nothing, absorbed into the darkness. The screaming was terrible. Then silence. Day downloaded everything and returned to the ship. His hands shook as he removed his helmet. "It is real," he said unnecessarily. "All of it. The swarm is real." They explored 2 more dead worlds, gathering data at each. Minho's theory proved correct. The horizon's edge remained undetected. The swarm ignored them completely. Humans really were invisible to it. On the flight back to Earth, Day studied the data. "Dr. Hana, I am sending you everything we found. There has to be a weakness here." Hana and Minho worked through the night analyzing it. By morning, they had a theory. "The swarm is not one creature," Hana explained to the assembled commanders. "It is a network. Billions of individual entities connected through a psychic link. They share one consciousness, like a hive mind." "Can we poison it?" General Kwan asked. "Use a biological weapon?" "Maybe. Dr. Yunji is analyzing samples Dai brought back. But I have a better idea." Hana displayed a diagram of the resonance drive. "What if we modify the drive to attack the psychic network itself? Instead of opening a wormhole in space, we open one in the psychic dimension. Sever the connection between swarm entities." "Will that kill it?" Admiral Tay asked. "It should break the hive mind. The individual creatures would become confused, directionless. They might even turn on each other." Minho jumped in. "We are calling it the severance weapon, but it requires massive amounts of power and precision. We would need to deploy it directly at the swarm's central hub." "Where is that?" Day asked. "We do not know yet. Somewhere in the swarm's core. Someone would have to go there and find it." The room fell quiet. Going into the swarm's core was suicide. Meanwhile, Queen Velathris remained imprisoned. But her situation changed when her son arrived. Prince Kelvar came to Earth in a small ship, unarmed and alone. He was younger than Day expected, maybe 20 in human years. But he carried himself with quiet strength. "I wish to see my mother," he told Admiral Tay. "Why should we allow that?" General Kwan demanded. "Because I command the Valtheris fleet now, and I have positioned them to defend Earth." That caused chaos in the command center. "Valtheris warships defending Earth?" "My mother made a choice," Kelvar explained. "She chose to trust humans. I choose to honor that trust. Your scientists are working on the severance weapon. Our ships will buy you time to complete it." He was allowed to see his mother. Day watched through security cameras as they spoke in her cell. Velathris touched her son's face gently. "You are taking a great risk," she said softly. "No greater than yours, Mother. I believe in what you are doing. Working with humans is our only chance. They hate us, and they have every right to. Then we will earn their trust, starting now." True to his word, Kelvar moved the Valtheris fleet into defensive positions around Earth. But not all Valtheris were happy about it. Some ships refused to follow orders and left. The Empire was fracturing. On Earth, humans were divided too. Protests erupted in the streets. Some people wanted to accept the alliance. Others wanted to fight both the Swarm and the Valtheris. Violence broke out in several cities. Ji-Won, the engineer who had survived the labor camps, found himself caught between both sides. Some humans saw him as a traitor for working with Valtheris technology. But the Valtheris engineers respected his knowledge. "This is stupid," he told Dai one night. "We are fighting each other when we should be fighting the swarm." "People are scared," Day replied. "Fear makes them do stupid things. Are you scared?" Day looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the swarm was coming. "Terrified, but I am more scared of giving up." A week later, a swarm vanguard arrived at the outer solar system. It was smaller than the main force, but still massive. Thousands of dark entities that moved through space like locusts. "All ships, battle stations," Admiral Tay ordered. The combined human and Valtheris fleet moved to intercept. For the first time in 3 years, humans and Valtheris fought side by side instead of against each other. It was awkward and uncoordinated at first, but gradually they found a rhythm. Human ships used ballistic weapons and missiles. Valtheris ships used energy beams and psychic weapons. Together, they created a devastating combination. But the swarm was relentless. For every entity destroyed, 2 more took its place. The battle raged for hours. Ships fell on both sides. Dai watched as a Valtheris cruiser sacrificed itself to protect a human carrier. Then a human destroyer did the same for a Valtheris frigate. Finally, Prince Kelvar made a desperate decision. He loaded his ship with antimatter bombs and flew directly into the center of the swarm vanguard. "Tell my mother I died with honor," he said calmly. The explosion was visible from Earth. It destroyed thousands of swarm entities and scattered the rest. The vanguard retreated, but the victory was temporary. The main swarm was still coming, and it was 1,000 times larger. Queen Velathris wept when she heard of her son's death. Day visited her cell. She looked smaller somehow, broken. "He believed in you," Day said quietly. "He believed we could work together. He was always more optimistic than me." The Queen wiped her eyes. "How much time do we have? 6 weeks? Maybe less? Then we have no choice. We must complete the severance weapon, and someone must take it into the swarm's heart." Day knew what she was suggesting. A suicide mission. One last desperate gamble to save both their species. "I will do it," he said. "No," Velathris replied. "We will do it. Together. Human and Valtheris. That is what my son would have wanted." Day nodded slowly. Outside, scientists raced to complete the weapon. Soldiers prepared for the final battle, and humanity faced a choice that would define their species forever. Stand and fight together, or die alone. The swarm moved faster than predicted. What should have taken 6 weeks took only 2. Deep space sensors detected it approaching like a wall of darkness, consuming everything in its path. Queen Velathris made an unprecedented decision. She appeared on every screen across Earth and the Valtheris fleet, broadcasting to both species. "I am dissolving the Empire's military command structure," she announced. "I hereby offer myself as a permanent hostage to humanity. Let this prove my commitment to our alliance. We will stand together or fall together." The response was mixed. Some Valtheris commanders were outraged. Others felt relief. Among humans, protests continued, but many began to see the gesture for what it was: genuine desperation. Admiral Tay accepted her offer formally. "The Queen will remain on Earth during the battle. If we fail, we all die together." Work on the severance weapon intensified. Dr. Hana and Minho led teams of both human and Valtheris scientists. The laboratory was crowded and chaotic. Arguments broke out constantly as different approaches clashed. But slowly, progress was made. "We need someone who can bridge both technologies," Hana said one night. "Someone who understands both human and Valtheris systems." Jin appeared in the doorway. He was a former prisoner of war who had been captured early in the conflict. He had spent 2 years in Valtheris labor camps before escaping. The experience left him with knowledge of their technology and deep scars, both physical and mental. "I can help," Jin said quietly. Jiwon looked up from his work. "Jin, I thought you hated them." "I do, but I hate the swarm more." Jin stepped inside. "I learned their engineering methods in the camps. I can translate between our systems." His contribution proved invaluable. Jin could explain Valtheris concepts in human terms and vice versa. He worked alongside both species, gradually becoming a bridge between them. Meanwhile, Captain Day and Lieutenant Yuna trained combined strike teams, human and Valtherus soldiers who would fight together in the final battle. The training was difficult. The species had been enemies for 3 years. Trust did not come easily. "Your formation is too rigid," a Valtherus warrior told a human squad leader. "Your tactics are too aggressive," the human shot back. Fights broke out. Day had to separate soldiers more than once. But Yuna found a solution. "Stop trying to fight like each other," she told them. "Use your differences as strengths. Humans are stubborn and unpredictable. Valtherus are precise and coordinated. Combine both." Slowly, the teams learned to work together. Valtherus telepathy allowed instant communication. Human creativity provided unpredictable tactics the swarm could not anticipate. Together, they became more effective than either species alone. Queen Velathris, living among humans now, began to understand them better. She walked through Earth's remaining cities under guard. She saw families huddled together in shelters. Children playing despite the war, people helping each other survive. One day, she sat with Dr. Hana in the laboratory cafeteria. It was strange seeing the queen of the Valtherus Empire eating simple food alongside human scientists. "Your people are remarkable," Velathris said quietly. "How so?" "You have been at war for 3 years. Your world is in ruins, yet you still hope, still dream of tomorrow. The Valtherus lost that ability years ago. We became focused only on survival." Hana stirred her coffee. "Hope is all we have left. Take that away and we might as well let the swarm win. Tell me about your life. Before the war." It was a personal question. Hana hesitated, then decided to answer. "I was a university professor. I taught quantum physics to students who were more interested in parties than particles. I had a small apartment, a cat named Newton, simple things. And now? Now I build weapons to kill cosmic horrors." Hana laughed bitterly. "Not exactly what I imagined. Do you regret it?" "Every day, but someone has to do it." Hana looked at the queen. "What about you? What did you lose to the swarm?" Velathris was quiet for a long time. "Everything. My home world, my family, my people's innocence. We were artists and philosophers once. The swarm made us into killers and conquerors." She paused. "I have done terrible things trying to save what remained. Things I cannot take back. Like the labor camps, the experiments on other species. Yes, I told myself it was necessary, that sacrificing some would save many. But I see now that I became a monster trying to fight monsters." Hana had no answer for that. They sat in silence. Two scientists from different worlds, both carrying the weight of impossible choices. The severance weapon neared completion, but tests showed a critical problem. The weapon required someone with both human determination and Valtherus psychic power to control it. No single person from either species could do it alone. "We need a neural link," Minho explained. "Two minds working as one human, one Valtherus. Together they could guide the weapon to the swarm's core and activate it." "Who?" Admiral Tay asked. Everyone looked at Day and Velathris. "No," General Quan objected immediately. "We cannot trust her with our most important mission." "Then who?" Day asked. "I am the best pilot we have. She is the most powerful psychic in the Valtherus Empire. We are the logical choice." Admiral Tay studied them both. "If this is a trick, if she betrays us at the critical moment, then we all die anyway," Day interrupted. "The swarm is 2 weeks away. This is our only chance." The decision was made. Day and Velathris would pilot the modified Horizon's Edge into the swarm's core. They would activate the severance weapon and hopefully destroy the hive mind. Hopefully. Dr. Yunji, the medical officer, had been studying samples Day brought back from dead worlds. She made a discovery that changed everything. The swarm is not purely energy, she explained. It has a biological component, a kind of living matter mixed with the psychic network, which means it can be affected by biological weapons. Poison? Day asked. Not exactly. But if we can disrupt its biological processes while severing the psychic network, we might increase our chances. She developed a viral agent that would attack the swarm's organic matter. It would be loaded onto the horizon's edge and released when they activated the severance weapon. Training for the neural link began. Day and Vela Thriss sat in a specially designed chamber, their minds connected through Valtheris technology. At first, it was overwhelming. Day felt her thoughts bleeding into his, her memories, her grief over her lost homeworld and dead son, her guilt over the atrocities she had committed, her desperate fear that everything she had done was for nothing. Velathris felt his thoughts, too, his anger at the Valtheris for the war, his fear of failing humanity, his memories of watching colonies burn, his stubborn refusal to give up even when logic said there was no hope. "This is harder than I expected," Day admitted. "You hate me," Velathris said. It was not a question. "Yes, but I respect you too. You could have stayed safe with your fleet. Instead, you came here and offered yourself as a hostage. That took courage. Or desperation. Maybe both. Over days of training, they learned to synchronize their thoughts. Human stubbornness and Valtheris precision merged into something new. When the link was active, they moved as one person with two bodies. Yuna watched one of their training sessions. It is eerie. They anticipate each other's movements perfectly. "They will need to," Hana replied. "The swarm's core is going to be hell. If they are not perfectly synchronized, they will die." 1 week before the swarm's arrival, a smaller force attacked the outer planets. Jupiter's moons were consumed in hours. Saturn's rings dissolved into nothing. The swarm was testing Earth's defenses. The combined fleet moved to intercept. This time, humans and Valtheris fought with practiced coordination. They had learned each other's tactics, trusted each other's support, but the casualties were brutal. A third of the fleet was destroyed in the first engagement. Ships burned. Thousands died. The swarm pushed closer to Earth. Admiral Tay made a difficult decision. "Pull back to Earth orbit. We make our stand here." The fleet retreated. Behind them, the swarm consumed Mars. The red planet turned gray and lifeless in hours. Queen Velathris watched from Earth's surface. She stood at a window in the command center, looking up at the stars. Day joined her. "Are you afraid?" he asked. "Terrified." "You?" "The same. We might fail, you know. The weapon might not work, or we might die before reaching the core." "Then we die trying. Better than giving up." Velathris smiled sadly. "You really believe that, do not you? That trying matters even if you fail. My species has survived by being too stupid to quit, even when we should. It is not stupidity. It is strength." She turned to face him. "If we survive this, if we actually defeat the swarm, what happens next?" Day had no answer. The future seemed impossible to imagine. They had been so focused on survival that they had not thought beyond it. "I suppose we figure out how to live together," he said finally. "Humans and Valtheris. No more war, no more empires. A pleasant dream. Dreams are all that keep us going." The swarm arrived at Earth's orbit 3 days later. It blotted out the stars. Sensors could not measure its full size. It was simply everywhere. Admiral Tay gave the order. "All ships engage. Buy Day and the Queen as much time as you can." The final battle had begun. The battle for Earth lit up the sky like a second sun. Thousands of ships from both species fought against the endless tide of darkness. Energy beams cut through space. Missiles exploded in brilliant flashes. And still the swarm came, wave after wave, consuming everything it touched. Captain Day stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge. The ship had been modified to carry the Severance weapon, a device that glowed with unstable energy in the cargo hold. Beside him, Queen Velathris prepared herself mentally for the neural link that would guide them through hell. All systems ready, Una reported from the pilot station. She would fly them to the edge of the battle. After that, Day and the Queen would take over using their linked minds. Dr. Hana appeared on the view screen. The weapon is as stable as I can make it. You will have one shot. Get to the swarm's core, activate the device, and the psychic network should collapse. Should? Day asked. Theoretical physics is not an exact science, especially when dealing with cosmic horrors. Hana tried to smile, but failed. Good luck, Day. If we do not make it back, he started. You will. You are too stubborn to die. The connection cut. Day looked at Velathris. She had removed her royal robes and wore simple flight gear now. Without the trappings of power, she looked younger, more vulnerable. Ready? He asked. No, but let us do it anyway. They activated the neural link. The world shifted as their minds merged. Day felt Velathris's thoughts flowing into his, her fear, her determination, her desperate hope that this would work. He shared his own thoughts in return, his memories of Earth before the war, his promise to himself that he would save it or die trying. Together they became something new, not quite human, not quite Valtheris, something in between. The horizon's edge launched from Earth and flew into the battle. Una navigated through the chaos with incredible skill. A human destroyer exploded to their left. A Valtheris cruiser rammed a cluster of swarm entities to their right, sacrificing itself. The fleet is creating a corridor, Una announced. They are clearing a path for us. Admiral Tay's voice came over the comm. All ships, focus fire on Sector 7. Give them a way through. The combined fleet turned its full firepower on one section of the swarm. For a brief moment, a gap appeared in the darkness. The horizon's edge shot through it like an arrow. Behind them, the gap closed. The fleet was cut off. They would have to hold the line alone. We are in swarm territory now, Una said quietly. She transferred control to Day and Velathris. Good luck. The linked minds took over. They flew the ship as one person, making decisions faster than thought. The swarm surrounded them but barely noticed. Just as Minho had predicted, human minds were almost invisible to it. But getting deeper required more than invisibility. The swarm's density increased. Dark entities swirled around them like a storm. One touch would mean dissolution. Day's piloting skills merged with Velathris's psychic sensitivity. Together, they sensed the swarm's movements before they happened. They flew through gaps that closed seconds later. They dodged attacks they could not see with normal sensors. There, Velathris Day said with both voices. The core is ahead. They saw it. A massive structure at the center of the swarm. It was not made of matter, but of concentrated psychic energy. It pulsed like a diseased heart, coordinating billions of swarm entities across light years. That is what we have to destroy, Velathris Day said. But the closer they got, the more the swarm reacted. It finally noticed them. Entities converged from all directions. The darkness pressed in. Weapons online, Una called from her station. She had volunteered to stay with them even though she could have evacuated. I will keep them off you. The horizon's edge's guns blazed. Minho's viral agent was loaded into the missiles. Each explosion did more than physical damage. It disrupted the swarm's biological components, creating chaos in the hive mind. Still, there were too many. For every entity destroyed, a dozen took its place. The ship's shields began to fail. Back at Earth, the fleet was being overwhelmed. Admiral Tay watched the tactical display with grim determination. Half his ships were gone. The swarm was pushing through their lines. "Sir, we cannot hold much longer," an officer reported. "We hold until Day succeeds or we are all dead," Tay replied. "Those are the only options." Jin worked frantically in the engine room, keeping the damaged systems running. Ji-Wan was at the weapons station, firing until the barrels glowed red. All across the fleet, humans and Valtheris fought side by side, united by the simple desire to survive. The horizon's edge reached the core. Up close, it was terrifying. The psychic energy was so intense that it hurt to look at. Velithris felt it pulling at her mind, trying to absorb her into the network. "Activating the severance weapon," Dave Velithris announced. The device in the cargo hold hummed to life. It began drawing power from the ship's reactor. More. The lights dimmed. Systems failed. Everything was being fed to the weapon. "It is working," Hana's voice came over the comm from Earth. "I am detecting dimensional ripples. You are opening a rift in the psychic dimension." But the swarm core fought back. It sent a pulse of energy that nearly shattered their neural link. Day felt Velithris scream in his mind as the force hit them. "Hold on!" he shouted to her, to himself, to both of them. The severance weapon needed more time to reach full power, but the ship was falling apart. Hull breaches opened. The reactor was overheating. They had minutes at most. Velithris made a decision. She opened herself completely to the weapon, channeling her full psychic power into it. Her life force began draining away. "No!" Day felt her fading. "You will kill yourself." "Better than letting everyone die," her thoughts whispered. Day understood what he had to do. If Valthera's psychic power alone was not enough, and human determination alone was not enough, then maybe together they could be sufficient. He connected himself to the weapon, too. Not through psychic power, but through pure, stubborn will. He fed his own life force into the device, refusing to let it fail. The neural link between them grew stronger than ever. Two minds, two species, one desperate hope. The severance weapon reached critical mass. It created a rift in the psychic dimension, a tear in the very fabric that held the swarm together. The effect cascaded outward from the core like a wave. Swarm entities across the solar system suddenly stopped moving. Their connection to the hive mind severed. Confusion spread through them. Without coordination, they began attacking each other. "It is working!" someone shouted on the fleet's open channel. "The swarm is breaking apart!" But inside the horizon's edge, Day and Velithris were dying. The weapon had drained them both to the edge of death. Their neural link was the only thing keeping them conscious. "We did it," Velithris thought weakly. "Not quite," Day replied. "We still need to get out." The ship was caught in the collapsing core. Gravitational forces pulled them inward. The reactor was seconds from meltdown. They had no power for engines. Then Yuna's voice cut through. "Day, I am coming for you!" She had launched in an escape pod and was flying directly at them. It was insane. The swarm core was imploding. Nothing could survive. But Yuna was not just anyone. She flew the tiny pod with skill that defied physics, dodging debris and energy bursts. She matched their velocity and locked on. "Transferring you now!" she shouted. Emergency systems activated. Day and Velithris were pulled from the dying ship into the escape pod. The horizon's edge exploded behind them. Caught in the core's final collapse, Yuna pushed the pod's engines to maximum. They shot away from the implosion, riding the shockwave like a surfer on a tsunami. The pod's shields failed. Hull plating burned away, but Yuna kept them flying. They burst out of the swarm territory and into open space. The combined fleet rushed to recover them. Medical teams were standing by. Day and Velithris were barely alive. They had given everything to power the weapon, but they breathed. Their hearts beat. They had survived. In the weeks that followed, the swarm finished dying. Without the hive mind, the entities became mindless. They drifted in space or attacked each other. Cleanup operations began to remove the remaining threats. Earth had been saved. The galaxy had been saved. Queen Velathris recovered slowly. When she was strong enough to stand, she made a historic announcement. The Valtheris Empire was dissolved. In its place, she proposed a galactic council with equal representation for all species. "We were conquerors," she said in her address. "We enslaved others in the name of survival. That ends now. Let this new age be one of cooperation, not domination." Earth became the seat of the council. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to build something new. Former enemies learning to work together. Dr. Hanna and her team continued studying the resonance drive, but now they focused on peaceful applications, opening trade routes, exploring new galaxies, connecting civilizations. Captain Day and Lieutenant Yuna were promoted to lead the new United Fleet, ships from many worlds, working together to protect the galaxy from future threats. Admiral Tay finally retired. He had spent 20 years at war. Now he could rest. Minho and Yunji worked to restore planets damaged by the swarm. It would take generations, but life was returning to dead worlds. Jin became an ambassador, helping former slave species integrate into the new galactic community. His unique perspective as someone who had suffered under Valtheris rule made him perfect for the role. 6 months after the battle, Day met with Velathris at Earth's United Nations building. They stood on the observation deck, watching the first official Galactic Council session begin below. "Strange, is it not?" Velathris said. "A year ago, we were trying to kill each other. Now we are building a government together. People change when they have to. Species change too, apparently. I came to Earth seeking technology, the resonance drive. I thought that was humanity's greatest contribution." She looked at him. "I was wrong. What do you think it is?" "Hope. The refusal to surrender even when logic demands it. That stubborn human determination to keep trying when everyone else gives up." She smiled. "You taught me that. You taught all of us." Day shook his head. "We learned something too. That even enemies can become family when survival demands it. That working together makes us stronger than fighting alone." Below them, representatives from Earth, the former Valtheris Empire, and 24 other civilizations began their first session. Arguments started immediately. Some things never changed, but they were arguing, not fighting, talking instead of shooting. It was messy and chaotic and beautiful. "The beginning of something new," Velathris observed. "Or the continuation of something old," Day replied. "Species working together. Seems like that is how the galaxy was always meant to be." They stood together in silence, watching the future take shape. Human and Valtheris. Former enemies, current allies, future friends. The swarm had come to destroy them. Instead, it had united them. And humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy was not technology or weapons or science. It was the simple, stubborn refusal to give up hope. Even in the darkest moment, even when extinction seemed certain, humans kept believing that tomorrow could be better. That belief had saved everyone. And now, together, all the species of the galaxy would build that better tomorrow, one stubborn, hopeful day at a time.